Well, guys, with Thanksgiving almost here today, was one of the busiest travel days of the year. Meanwhile, Trump's transportation secretary called for passengers to dress a little better while flying and ditch the pajamas for jeans. Yeah, he wants people to dress well, help each other, and if someone misbehaves, just politely say, "Quiet, piggy." I think it's a good idea.
And there it is, yet another failed attempt at comedy. Late night. Wasn't the piggy controversy, as the Australians would say, wasn't the piggy controversy last week? Well, we'll give him a participation ribbon, because that's what you get. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It's Thanksgiving Eve. 73 million people will take to the roads. Some will also fly. And the networks want you to panic. We've dubbed them the catastrophists because they can find a catastrophe anywhere. Oh, it's so infuriating, is it not? The media is ginning up everything, it seems. We'll get to the other craziness on CNN happened earlier this morning in a little bit, but we have to cover some of the madness that happened on ABC last night. You see, the ABC News Network has no doubt called the ABC Entertainment Network. ABC is broken into two different divisions. George Stephanopoulos is the head of the news division. He's paid handsomely. I think it's close to $20 million a year for his role as leading that effort. And by the way, the women on The View are part of ABC News. Seriously. ABC News, because it was born out of the Barbara Walters world, was under the umbrella of ABC News. And it's remained that way. And it must make money, otherwise they would have been cut a long time ago. But the news division and the entertainment division, very separate. And they both compete to try and make more money than the other. Jimmy Kimmel's in the entertainment division. But you wonder if news called him up and said, hey, we need you to do a solid. We got Senator Mark Kelly, who's getting some heat because he's part of the seditious six, the people who are out there trying to tell our military not to pay attention to their commander-in-chief. And the commander-in-chief, Donald John Trump, the president, has said, seditious behavior is punishable by death. And they all lost their minds. They lit their hair on fire and ran in front of TikTok cameras and said, Donald Trump wants to kill us. It's just like when he told them to shoot Liz Cheney, which he did not. So sedition, in case you were wondering, it's a crime. It's what happens when you either encourage or incite rebellion or resistance or disloyalty against a lawful government or established authority. And you can do this in speech. You can do it in writing. You can do it in organized action without necessarily involving, as they say, overt violence or treason. But it usually involves advocating, promoting, or stirring up the opposition to the government or its laws, which you could make the argument that the video put out by these 6 Democrats could be considered seditious. So we'll see. So Mark Kelly's getting some heat because Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has said, maybe we need to have a chat with you. Maybe we need to have a little investigation into this video, since you're probably the highest ranking member of all the people on that video, talking to him. And the left has appropriately come to Mark Kelly's aid. In fact, last night, Mark Kelly appeared on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and I would have thought Jimmy Kimmel would already have started his Thanksgiving vacation by this time. But I guess I would bet you the news division tugged on the sleeve of the entertainment division, as I said, we need a solid. You got to do this because, Kelly, we're looking at him. He's got some presidential timber, maybe some vice presidential timber. He might be he might be a candidate for us in 2028. We'll see. Maybe he's going to replace Schumer in the Senate because, we got to get rid of Chuck, too. But could you have him on? So last night, Jimmy Kimmel introduced Mark Kelly and mentioned that Donald Trump might want him arrested.
Our next guest served his country as a decorated naval captain. He fought in Desert Storm and, like myself, is a former space shuttle pilot. He is also a member of Congress from Arizona who our president would like to arrest. Please welcome Senator Mark Kelly.
Now, you have to ask the question, did I miss a memo? Did Jimmy Kimmel pilot the space shuttle? I know he's trying to be a comedian. But does that diminish Mark Kelly's actual efforts in actually piloting the space shuttle? I don't know. Kimmel was curious, though. He wanted to know about Mark Kelly's reaction to the president's reaction.
The president of the United States goes on social media and accuses you of sedition, treason, and suggests in a not-so-roundabout way that you should be executed for those crimes. How do you find out about that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was in the SCIF, which is a secure facility, and I'm sitting next to Alyssa Slotkin. And you can't take your phones in there, so no devices. So somebody comes in the middle of our brief, slips her a piece of paper, and I take a look at the piece of paper, and it says, "The president is calling for your execution," to Alyssa. So she looks at me, she gets up, she walks out. About 5 minutes later, she comes back in, looks at me, and says, "Well, he's calling for your execution, too."
So I wonder why they were in a SCIF. What were they doing in a SCIF? What were you investigating in the SCIF? But I also wonder how you get that. There was no formal call for the execution. The president just mentioned quite clearly that if you are guilty of seditious or traitorous behavior, that yes, the penalty can be execution. But the Democrats like to take it to the nth degree. The catastrophists, as I like to call them. They like to light their hair on fire and scream and scream and scream. And the conversation between Kelly and Kimmel continued about this incident.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
Well, it's kind of shocking, that the president, we said something which is basically follow the law. Yes. And the president of the United States says kill them, hang them, execute them, try them for sedition.
I kind of feel like that is a bit of an oversimplification about what was said. You didn't say follow the law. You said don't follow unlawful orders, that you took a vow to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's what's in the UCMJ. And that is the oath that you take. So the president responded to that video. Interesting. Very interesting. This continued with more between Kelly and Kimmel.
The president, when he says these things, there are consequences. And by the way, isn't this the guy 2 months ago that said, we've got to stop this political violence issue? He didn't even make it to Thanksgiving.
It's almost like he doesn't mean anything he says. It's almost as if he's a hypocrite in some ways.
From the guy that called the president a Nazi, from the guy that called the president, they've called him a Nazi, a despot. They've called him everything in the book. And now they're upset about this? It's really interesting. And now the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is involved, so he became part of the conversation.
And then you have Pete Hegseth, who is who runs the Department of War, is going to open an investigation into you. I assume into your colleagues. You will have to be interviewed by the FBI, and they're trying to find what exactly? What even is sedition?
Well, this is the investigation because of what Donald Trump said. From what I can tell, he just wants to please the president.
Obviously, yes.
And this is what he can do this week. He can go after me under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the law in the military, which is kind of wild because we recited something in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and he's going to prosecute me under the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
For reciting the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
It is so ridiculous. It's almost like you can't make this up.
So if you recite the law about not robbing a bank and then you rob a bank, does your recitation of the law exonerate you from being pursued for robbing said bank? I don't think so. I give you a good try. You'll get a little ribbon for that. This is an interesting discussion, and you know, while I think we obviously have bigger issues to deal with, the peace in Ukraine and Russia is a huge deal for me. The continuing peace in the Middle East, as we're finishing up the first phase of the ceasefire in Gaza, as that phase 1 is wrapping up. All of these are important issues. But, you know, when Democrats come out in unison and make statements that basically hint that this president is giving unlawful orders, and they danced around it, and then get upset when someone reacts saying, wait a minute, you're telling soldiers not to listen to the commander-in-chief. I'm sorry, you don't get it both ways. You can't have it both ways. The phones have been bubbling today. Let's talk to Jerome in Charleston, South Carolina. Jerome, I understand you're a Democrat. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Mikey, it's a pleasure to speak with you again. Yes,
it's my honor, sir.
I'm
Welcome.
a veteran too.
Welcome
I'm a veteran
back.
Too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
8-year Air Force veteran.
Oh, thank you for thank you.
I got accepted when I was 18 years old. Had to lose 60 pounds, okay, before I could even get in a testing room.
Okay.
Hey, Trump's a coward, okay? Tell Mark Kelly Trump's a coward. You don't listen to cowards. He doesn't even have your service record because he has no record. Okay?
Well, Jerome, hang on. I didn't serve. I was in the ROTC in college, but I did not formally serve in the United States military. Does that make me a coward? Because I have no.
Did you have bone spurs like Trump?
No, but Jerome, you said the president didn't serve, so he's a coward. Does that make me a coward because I have no service record?
Bone spurs are treatable, okay? Bone spurs are treatable. That's not a disqualifying factor, okay? 4 of them. How do you get 4 deferments? You know how you get them? Your daddy got a lot of money, and your family's got a big name. That's how you get them.
Okay,
right?
Jerome. Okay, anything else you want to say? Because I understand you hate the president. And if you hate the president,
I hate him
it's
because
unfortunate.
of what he stands for, okay? He calls people cowards, and he does bombs. He attacks boats out in the middle of nowhere. Anything.
Wait. Jerome, are you upset about the drug-laden boats that are being blown up? I thought the only person who was mad about that was Hunter Biden.
What about due process?
Terrorists don't. Jerome, terrorists don't get due process.
How do you
it's
know
war.
Terrorists? How do you know they're terrorists?
If you're bringing drugs into this country,
right?
You're a terrorist. If you're bringing drugs into this country, you've killed over 100,000 people.
Process,
there's no due process. There's no due process in war.
Man. No, there's no due process in this world, right?
No, in war, Jerome. Jerome, put him down, please. Jerome, I know you can hear me now, but we can't have a conversation. If all you want to do is scream, we're trying to have a conversation. This harkens back to what I talked about with Bill Maher. You got to be able to have a conversation where I'll listen to your points, as ridiculous as they are, and I'll refute them, and then all you do is scream over. It doesn't work that way. Happy Thanksgiving, Jerome. Thank you for your 18 years in the service, and I'm glad you lost all that weight. Wow, you had to lose 60 pounds at 18? That's not easy. Thank you for your service. I think you should stop talking and listen a little bit. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show.
What even is sedition?
It's almost like you can't make this up.
It is the Chris Blanch Show. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you and yours. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend, Chris Plant. Happy to be here, thrilled to be here. So much to get to today, including we're going to dive into details on the nation of Eswatini, which is where we're sending some bad people. We're deporting them, putting them in Eswatini properties. I'm going to try and grab a couple of calls here. The phone lines are absolutely humming today. 888-630-9625. Pete in Chicago, my old hometown, listening on the great WLS. Hello, Pete. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Shall the call screener here. You know, the one part that's been missing in the conversation, we hear the captain and all these talking heads. Oh, well, you know, they're just quoting the oath. That's what it says. Well, that's a half truth. If you read the oath that every soldier takes, it says, "I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States." However, what they're not telling you is the next line, which says, "I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and all officers appointed over me." That's very plain language.
Yes, it is. What they're saying, but Pete, the argument they're trying to make is the one the View says is the Nuremberg argument, that, you know, just because you got the order doesn't mean it's lawful. But that's not what the oath says, is it?
No. Now, a soldier has a right to conscience, absolutely, but he has to understand the consequence. If you believe it's wrong, then you step out and you take the consequence, which means you are subject to courts martial. Just like these National Guard people said, "Oh, well, if President Trump says we're going to deploy to Chicago or wherever, we're not going to do it." Hey, you just violated your oath. You're out. Goodbye.
Absolutely. Not only you're out, you could face serious charges beyond that as well. So, Pete, I assume you served. Did you serve us, sir?
That was 50 years ago. I'm not going there.
All right. Well, God bless you for serving. Thank you for your service to this country and for your great astute analysis of the oath that every soldier takes. Thank you, Pete. Let me grab one quick one here because Brinson in Arkansas wanted to respond to. Oh, I can't, Brinson. Hang on. We'll get back to the phones just around the corner. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant right here on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Mike Opelka with you on this Wednesday. I hope you're not traveling. I know. It looks like that everything's pretty smooth, but I hope you don't have to endure that. It's just going to be such a hassle. And I know the Secretary of Transportation is telling everyone, dress better and behave. Look, I've been on some of those red-eye flights from Los Angeles or from Las Vegas back to the East Coast, and everybody looks like they're getting on a flying slumber party. I'm okay with that. It's the people who walk around without their shoes. And I know the one and only Robert Kennedy Jr. and his barefoot jaunt when he was running for president, it was captured. He was on a commercial airliner, took his shoes and socks off and walked around the plane. That's just nasty. But I'm okay with people behaving a little nicer. I'm okay with people actually being more civil to one another. That would be a good thing. But I don't think we need a dress code on the airlines. The businesses can decide that for themselves. But let's get back to the topic at hand. We were talking about the Mark Kelly situation, the seditious six. Kelly appeared on Kimmel's show last night, seemed to make a little bit of a fool of himself. Kimmel made a fool of himself by saying, "What even is sedition?"
What even is sedition?
Oh, I think it's a song from a new version of Fiddler on the Roof. Sedition. Sedition.
It's almost like you can't make this up.
You can't. It really is crazy. And then we had a caller, a regular caller, a Democrat, who calls the show. Listen, I'm like any good talk show host. I want to hear from everybody. I want to have a conversation, but I don't want to be yelled at. So Jerome called, and he was impolite, so we had to let him go. But Brinson, holding through the break from Arkansas, wanted to respond to some of the things that Jerome said. Brinson, welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Michael. Hey, I didn't serve either, and I promise you I'm far from a coward. Jerome, the reason that he is just mouthing you down is because I believe he knows he's in the wrong. If he wants to talk about people getting their money and living off of daddy's money, he needs to look at J.D. Pritzker, who has absolutely destroyed Chicago and the state there. He got all his money, and to my knowledge, he didn't serve. And the other thing about Jimmy Kimmel, and then I'll shut up, is that I believe that they need to go after him for aiding and abetting a criminal when he says that in a roundabout way, that's what Donald Trump said, that they wanted them executed. No, he simply recited the law. That's up to judges and lawyers to figure out if he's court-martialed, if he's hung in a public place or whatever. But I think they all six suggested in a roundabout way, directly in a roundabout way, that our military should disobey orders, and I disagree with it, and at least all six of them need to be out of Congress. They need to be out of the public spotlight. They have no business even being in our country the way that we're running our country at this point.
Well, I certainly appreciate your perspective on this, and we'll see what happens. I think Kimmel is about to face the same reality Stephen Colbert is facing. His contract is up in May of next year, and there's been little discussion about renewing it. Most of that's because the late-night format doesn't work anymore. They can't make any money on it when you have 200 people sitting around trying to make a show funny, and they're also beholden to a political party for talking points. You're not going to get a mass audience. So I think Kimmel will get his move off the network within 6 or 7 months. We will see. But I would love to see a judge jump in and weigh in on the charges and the claims that are being positioned, especially against Mark Kelly. We'll see what happens. But thank you, Brinson. Appreciate you being there. Let us visit with our friend Jason in Kensington, Maryland. Jason, welcome back.
Hey, g'day, Mike. How you going, mate?
I'm good. I'm having. It's fun with Democrats on Thanksgiving Eve.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, they can't just leave any holiday alone. No holiday gets untouched by their anger and their victimization and all this sort of stuff. It's like they just can't leave it alone. It's whether it's some sort of patriotic event like Reeves across America or anything that you never see any sort of positive contribution by the Democrat Party, whether it's candidates or whether it's just Democratic people. They never have anything good to say about that sort of thing. They just want to sort of just dwell on the negative side of things. And this sedition thing is all just about branding. They're trying to brand themselves and sort of poke their head up to make a name for themselves, and that's all that's about. I mean, they're going to go on all the networks and have the people, the town cries for them, and that's about it. I mean, they just brand themselves. There's just nothing positive that's going to come out of that for either side.
Two things here, Jason, and number one, I think you identified it, and it kind of relates to what happened last week when Zohran Mamdani, the commie, showed up at the White House and met with the president. I think Scott Adams, the cartoonist, is the one who identified it. He said Trump was brilliant, and he took the term affordability away from the Democrats, and now the GOP is focused on it, and I'm glad they are, because I do think that's going to be a determining factor. So by dropping the affordability issue, or at least pushing it off the front lines, the Democrats are now trying to use this issue, and it's likely going to fail. But the second and more important thing that you mentioned there, just briefly in passing, I think we're about 18 days away from a very important event, Wreaths Across America. And this is one I've participated in 3 times at Arlington National. once in Delaware, where I live, and once in Valley Forge. And I will tell everybody, if you really want to do something to bring your family together over the holidays, go to wreathsacrossamerica.org and either donate or sign up to participate. There is a wreath laid on virtually every grave of every person who died in service to this country in our military. And participating at Arlington National is a powerful experience. And if you can do it, I encourage it. There are thousands of cemeteries across the country. All you do is put in your zip code, and they'll direct you to the closest one, or come to D.C. And you can do it for the wreath laying that happens, like I said, I think it's 18 days from now. And then in about 4 weeks after that, we do cleanup. So either or is worth your time. I suspect you may have done this, Jason.
Yeah. A number of years ago I did that because, I mean, just from what you describe, it was a terrific event, and it's sort of a lot of camaraderie between the people doing it, and very positive sort of a thing. And like I said before, it's an event that could sort of bring both parties together, but you're always going to get these people on the left that'll just, either downplay it, not mention it, or use it as an excuse to talk about the negative side of our country. And that's sort of a real positive, that whole event. I quite enjoyed it. And, because something we don't really have in Australia. We have Anzac Day in Australia, and we don't have a Thanksgiving, of course. We never really got together with the Aborigines and had a sit down with them. But
maybe we should. Maybe we should push that.
But, sort of a new event for me, but I got to learn it over the years, and it's a great time of year.
Yeah, it's a terrific event. wreathsacrossamerica.org. Trust me, if you participate in it, even locally, you will come away a better person, either the laying of the wreath on the individual graves or the helping the cleanup later. And it truly is a really powerful event. Thank you, Jason. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, my friend. We're bubbling on the phones today, so let's continue. Let's go to Middletown, New Jersey. And Mike, welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. Always enjoy when you're in for Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
So, simple question is, if all Mr. Kelly was doing was asking to follow the law, why make a glossy video and post to social media? We're not stupid people. We're supposed to follow the law. I mean,
Well, the funniest part of this to me, Mike, was on Sunday during all the talk shows, and I know Chris talked about this earlier in the week, when people like Elise Slotkin and Kelly were confronted about illegal orders the president has given, they kind of all did the Ralph Cramden hamina, that nobody could name an illegal order. So it does beg the question, why do a very highly produced, they used music, they used editing to get this done. It's truly something that they focus grouped and tested, and everybody cheered and said, yeah, this'll get him. This'll get him. The Fine People hoax didn't get him. The Suckers and Losers didn't get him. This'll get him. That's probably what they're doing. So that's a great point.
It's silly. It's absolutely silly. And look, take a page out of Ellie Richardson's book. If you really object to this order that he's saying, resign your post. You then can go off and claim why you resigned. And then here's a simple solution. Run for the office of presidency so you can issue your own orders, which overturn his orders. It's really simple.
No, this has all got the stench of propaganda on it, and you nailed it. Well done, sir. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you being there. The phones continue. Anita in Virginia. Hello, Anita. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, happy pre-Thanksgiving there, Michael. Two things. One, with Jerome, I'm a Navy veteran, and I am not offended by the fact that President Trump got 4 deferments for bone spurs. I believe, too, that during the Vietnam War era, that was a medical board that made that determination to grant the deferment or not. So if Jerome has any problem with that medical deferment, he needs to take it up with the medical board and not President Trump. Second of all, with respect to the seditious six, any attempt that they want to make any effort to tie illegal order, to Nazis, to fascism, to Trump. That's all it is, because as soon as you say an illegal order, everyone goes, oh, the Nazis, Nuremberg, what have you. It's such a cheap, tacky shot by them, really.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And correct on talking about Jerome. I wish I had your knowledge on the medical board, but I thank you for clarifying. I'm sure Jerome is listening, and he's probably screaming at his radio right now, but that's okay, too. Anita, thank you for your service. My dad was a Navy vet, so it's always a special moment when a Navy veteran calls the show. I appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. And there she goes. Let's grab one more. I know it's been a phone. The phones, like I said, you guys have been on fire today. Mark in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. I did live in, I'm down here in Chapel Hill, but I lived in Hoffman Estates for a couple of years.
A Chicago-lander, if you will.
Yes. Well, I grew up in Cincinnati, but yes, I lived in Hoffman Estates. I really enjoy you pinch hitting for Chris. You have a great way of telling us what's going on around the world.
Thank you. That's very kind.
My idea, and I got it from a couple of your peers in Cincinnati, is when it comes to mass shooters, they don't ever name the shooter, because some of those shooters are out for the notoriety. Some of them have mental situations or both. But I was wondering if you would consider not naming mass shooters and passing that along to your peers.
Mark, you're correct, and that has been a policy of mine in the past. I have not given airtime to any of the mass shooters, and I slipped this morning, and I let it go because I believe you're right on that. They want the notoriety. They want to be part of history when they really should be relegated to the very back pages, maybe to an index, if anything. But so, yeah, that did slip out today, and I have tried to make the same point. I appreciate the reminder. It happens every now and then. The notoriety should not be granted to those people, the people who shoot up schools, the people. And let's remember, Chicago this weekend, I don't think we've seen names because there were probably juveniles who shot at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony in Chicago. One person died. There were several, I think it was 9 or 10 were injured. But so I have not said those names. So that's a very, very good point. Thank you for that. I will try and be better in my execution on air. I appreciate you, sir. Okay, one more because it's funny. Larry in Anderson, South Carolina, I saw what you're calling about, and I had to continue this phone surge with your call. Welcome, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and thanks for your service on the air here. I just wanted to, I get and don't pay attention to this guy from Charleston, South Carolina. There's Charleston, South Carolina, when they withdrew from the United States, they made the comment that the place was too big to be too small to be a state and too large to be an insane asylum. So don't pay attention to that idiot. They finally elected, I think, a Republican down there, but you stay away from that place if you want political response. Beautiful city, come spend your money. We need the tax revenue. I wanted to make a comment. I got an email a couple of 3 or 4 days ago. It came from the Kamala Harris campaign. That was signed by this Slopnik woman, and how she ever got in the CIA, heaven knows. But the letter stated that they were trying to, air quote, defend Mark Kelly and these other radical lunatics. When the letter that they sent out also says that it gives a portion to the Kamala Harris campaign. So, she run up a pretty big debt trying to defeat Trump. Democrats always spend more than what they've got. So they ran up a big debt. I think it's a fundraiser. This whole thing is a smokescreen so they could get out here and try to get more money to pay off her campaign so she can run another failed campaign.
Wow. Can you send us a quick digital snap of that? Because I would love to see that. So the Democrats, Elise Slotkin, is sending out a fundraising email under the guise of raising money to help Mark Kelly defend himself. But a portion of the proceeds will be used to retire the substantial campaign debt incurred by Kamala Harris after she burned through $2 billion in 107 days. That's amazing.
It doesn't specifically say that that's what it is, but just says that a portion of this money, I think is the quote, and I'm looking for the email now, but a portion of the money does go to the Kamala Harris campaign. Now, heaven knows what a portion could be, a 90% portion or a 5% portion, but I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that's what they're doing. Just like, this thing is just a magic act. It's smoke and mirrors. They're trying to deflect off of the $90 billion that Biden's administration, all these screw-ups and mess-ups that they've done.
Can't argue with you, but I'm up against the clock. Hang on, Larry, because maybe you can email it to us. I would love to see that. Thank you, sir. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Second hour, almost in the books here. Things are flying by. There's so much going on. I told you earlier that CNN is making what I consider to be a pitch to get the whole country stoned. Now, alcohol isn't for everybody. And yes, there are many people who could use to reduce their consumption of alcohol. But for many people, it's a wonderful beverage to add to a meal or an evening out. But CNN, I believe, is doing something dangerous. I'll play it for you. We'll get to that. Plus, remember the nation of Eswatini, a tiny nation called Eswatini? We're apparently shipping some of the evil, bad people to Eswatini. The mainstream media would like you to know they're not really bad. And then when we look into their backgrounds, we find these people to be terrible, criminal, awful people. We'll explain that as well. And I might even have a couple of other surprises to share with you. And you can join us as well. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.